We have to discuss one of the backbone ingredients in the processed food industry, and I don't want to be corny. Ugh, I'll see myself out. Could you be reacting to corn? A lot of underlying health conditions can be caused and brought on by integrating corn in your diet. I know it sounds weird, right? And you ever wondered why? Okay, I hate to get a little graphic here for a moment, but for illustrative purposes, I think it's relevant. Okay, you ever wonder why? Okay, after you eat like a nice old fresh head of corn, like the ones that you see here in the picture, right? It's like, oh, it's so nice, and oh yes, everybody likes some maize, of course. But you know why it's not inherently that good for you? Something that every kid will point out. Why do you got little kernels in your poop afterwards? It's almost like the human body in today's day and age, thanks to a lack of evolution in order to properly break down corn, we're not supposed to be ingesting it. Wild concept that even grade schoolers can figure out. Processed food and meat industries are centered around industrial produced corn, and most people are unaware. Some form of corn is found in nearly every processed food item, whether it's as sweeteners, high fructose corn syrup. Imagine that, corn and high fructose corn syrup. Dextrose and sorbitol. A texturizer, such as dextrin and maltodextrin, in grain. There's no grain. I guess that would be corn and grain just put together. All right. Corn flour, corn meal, corn gluten. Wow, weird. Alcohol and ethanol. That's one use that we should be doing because, again, vehicles run just as fine on ethanol as it does with everything else. But thanks to regulations from government, you need to have a certain amount of petroleum in order to properly make those industries profitable. I'm just saying. And protein. Zyme, cornstarch, and several other derivatives. All right. Corn serves as feed for most of our meat sources. Exactly. That's why you should be getting wild or free range or grass fed instead of grain-fed or corn-fed, because again, all of those inflammatory markers end up getting passed on through your diet, kind of through like a weird human centipede effect that you have there. Just picture yourself, you're the one at the end. God, we got a lot of poop-related stuff here at the beginning. Anyways, while the prolific use of corn is testimony for its virtues as a grain, there are many problems that have developed so much from the industrial-produced corn. The not well recognized downside include food allergy, food intolerances, food addiction, binge eating, and other serious and confusing health issues, and a corn-based agricultural system that consumes a large amount of natural resources but is inefficient at producing healthy food. Yes, most corn in the food supply also is genetically modified. Yes, GMO corn is everywhere, and you get all of the benefits and all of the detriments associated with that, including a modification that can be sprayed with higher amounts of glyphosate, a problematic herbicide. Corn is heavily subsidized to the tune of $116 billion from 95 to 2020. Just about as much has been sent to Ukraine. According to the Department of Agricultural data compiled by the Environmental Working Group, annual corn subsidies have risen in recent years. Wonder why? Because a dumb, docile, fat population is easier to control? No, couldn't possibly be talking about that now, could we? In 2020, corn growers received at least $9 billion in taxpayer supports through bailouts, commodity protection programs, disaster relief, conservation programs, subsidized crop insurance, and trade distribution compensation payments reported by the Agricultural Fairness Alliance. So, the different types of corn reaction. Let's get down to brass tacks because we all know that the government is trying to push this relatively... if it was found in the wild, it would be a healthy grain that's out there, but the type that the average person is getting is nowhere near as healthy as it should be. So, true food allergy to corn, in which the body releases immunoglobulin E antibodies, can be a dramatic symptoms which leaves hives, skin rashes, asthma, and labored breathing to develop quickly. And of course, yes, that's acute problems that manifest quickly, and obviously you can easily figure that out. What about food intolerance? All right. Food intolerance, sometimes called a food sensitivity, is an adverse reaction to food in which there is no involvement of the immune system. According to the Cleveland Clinic, a food intolerance affects your digestive system and occurs when your digestive system can't break down certain foods. People with this condition develop gas, diarrhea, and other digestive problems. More poop talk. Imagine that. That's the through line when we're talking about corn. 5 years old. That's fine. When the Cleveland Clinic and other sources make the presence or absence of any immune response the defining difference between a food allergy and a food intolerance, other sources are less definitive. In 2013 editorial in the Indian Journal of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology, Dot or Feather. Intolerance to a food can result in the enzyme deficits, direct irritant effects of or from toxins present in food. Usually the symptoms are of a chronic nature and may include gastrointestinal tract, abdominal cramp, nausea, diarrhea, constipation, and IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, but can include skin, rashes, urticaria, dermatitis and eczema, and respiratory tract, nasal congestion, sinusitis, and asthma. In one study of 71 patients with allergic symptoms lacking laboratory evidence of allergy, 62% of them tested positive for big G antibodies against corn, which is excreted if you have a sensitivity. Immunoglobulin G, that is. Studies revealed that females are more prone to develop food intolerance than males, and many people with the condition go undiagnosed. Yeah, exactly. You can just kind of slough it off or just take a Tums in order to disperse the adverse responses. Food addiction and binge eating. Interesting. Some people crave and binge eat corn. Actual corn? Because that would be weird, I guess. A likely reason if this occurs is because corn is high calorie, high carbohydrate, high glycemic food that can cause blood sugar highs followed by blood sugar lows that can lead to cravings in some people. Regardless of exactly why addictive eating of corn occurs in my work counseling, author speaking here, counseling clients who have difficulty controlling their eating habits, I have found that strictly avoiding corn for clients who crave and binge eat corn is critical to overcoming the condition. Exactly. That's why when everybody's talking about a sugar detox, or carbohydrate detox, or even when you're initially going into the ketogenic diet, people complain about, the early adoption phases when your body's first getting fat adapted, and then you go through the keto flu or brain fog. That's just all the detoxification of the different carbohydrates coursing through your body and that rapid release of energy that your body requires or thinks that it requires in order to function. So that's what that is in a nutshell. GMO and pesticide issue. Yeah, of course, messing around with your foods, not exactly that preferable. And then pesticides, there's some that you shouldn't be using, but depending on your location, certain pesticides are allowed in certain places, some of them aren't. They're still equally bad for you. Study in 2014, published in Environmental Sciences Europe, shared results of the first initial animal examining the long-term effects of exposure to Roundup-tolerant GM genetically modified corn in a complete Roundup herbicide formulation. The study linked varying levels of both GM corn and Roundup to severe liver and kidney damage in male rats and to mammary tumors in female rats. The female rats showed a 2-fold to 3-fold increase in mortality, and deaths were earlier. Increased risks of deaths and earlier deaths were also evident in the group of the male rats, and they were fed the GM corn. Great. So you get all the genetically modified, produced in order to have higher levels of sugar, carbohydrates on top of that, to be the sweetest corn that's out there. That's why you should always go for organic alternatives whenever possible. Recovering after corn. All right, this sounds weird. You have a corn addiction. I need you to stop. Formation of new proteins in GM corn may cause the body to react by producing high levels of the type of white blood cell typically involved in allergies. All right. Elle magazine article, scientific studies in Elle in 2013. Interesting. The bad seed, the health risks of genetically modified corn. Back when they were actually doing something decent. Interesting. Writers Caitlin Shedderly described how she had a collection of weird symptoms, including pain radiating throughout her body, rashes, exhaustion, headaches, nausea, and insomnia. She saw numerous doctors and tried many therapies to no avail. She eventually visited an allergist who told her she believed that she had developed a reaction to GM corn because changes in her DNA of GM corn can act as allergic proteins that provoke the overproduction of Eosinophils? I think I'm pronouncing that right. That's an interesting combination of letters. Eosinophils, whatever. A pro-inflammatory type of white blood cell that can lead to inflammatory conditions through the body and multi-system symptoms. Her doctor recommended that she remove all corn from her diet, but it was difficult to do, but when she did, most of her symptoms went away fairly quickly. Yes, exactly. It's almost like an elimination diet, but you're just getting rid of one of the staples of everything that comes in a box in a bag. So you stop eating out of those, guess what? Your life's going to vastly improve. It's almost like what I've been talking about for over a year at this point. Anyways, basics to avoiding corn. Hey, here we go. We got the top 4 ways. Stay away from processed foods whenever possible. Imagine that. Avoid conventional eggs, chicken, beef, and pork from animals that have been fed corn. Exactly. When they say grain-fed, they're talking about corn. It's not that helpful for you. Learn the potential corn derivatives to avoid. Get up to speed on the long list of potential hidden sources of corn on food ingredient lists by visiting corn allergy websites and learning common corn derivatives. And finally, narrow down choices of products that looking for those to be labeled corn-free or paleo. Exactly. Grain-free, dairy-free, lactose-free, all of those other goofy things, all of the stuff that you can't properly pronounce and you can't figure out. Okay. Oh, that looks exactly like it should coming out of the ground. And it's green, delicious. Eat that. That's fantastic. But then if it's meat, if you got a local butcher shop that you can pilfer for some decent cuts, terrific. Otherwise, you got to take a look at what's on the box, what's on the packaging, and if you ever have the opportunity to get the grass-fed option, take it. Take it and run with it. And if that's not an option, just make sure that you get the leaner cuts that are out there in order to minimize the amount of fat, and then that's where all the storages for all these toxins are going to take place. So you can run it that slim if you're just in a really tough situation. Okay, most of the foods with the labels shouldn't contain any corn, but be cautious. There are no regulatory definitions for these terms, and people at the food companies who create the labels sometimes don't know all the hidden ingredients that contain corn. Use your judgment when evaluating the ingredients, and if you're in doubt, directly call or write the companies asking. Yes, exactly right. A strongly worded letter. I just don't want to be eating corn in my diet. What corn derivatives are in my Oreos? Just don't eat out of a bag or a box. You'll be fine, kids. So take a look out there for corn. Stop porn. Damn it, I ruined my own joke. Corn is like porn. You should stop doing both. There you go. I saved it there at the end. But with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.